Welcome back. Shman Diamond K, of course. RadioFire.com, the Diamond K Show.com. For all those watching live or on demand, thank you for joining me. Radio Fire talks to America through digital news broadcasts and social media content. We are a rising multimedia platform generating over 350,000 viewers and listeners per month through our audio and video streams. From politics, breaking news, celebrity info, sports talk, pop culture, and so much more, Radio on Fire keeps our audience covered. Lot of things to get into. Very, very busy day as it relates to topics. We're going to talk about Trump on this COVID, vaccine, thinking that he knows better than the head of the CDC. We're going to talk about masks and how masks are more effective than a vaccine with only 50% efficacy. Attorney General William Barr under fire for his comparison of the virus lockdown to slavery. I'm going to talk about that. Also, infection rates soar in college towns as students are returning. Another bit of information that the Washington Post put out there. Trump blocked the post office from sending face masks to every household in the country back in April. We just found out about that. The feds are aggressively going after demonstrators who cause violence. Also, Baltimore County schools have released their phased reopening plan. We're going to look at that plan and talk about that. Also, Boosie, Lil Boosie, the rapper, claims that he's going to sue Instagram for racial discrimination. All of that and much more we're going to get into today. Stay tuned. So we are back, and we have been talking about this, and we're going to continue to talk about it, obviously, as we are facing this. So if the president spent more time trying to do a good job, if he spent more time trying to do a good job and less time saying that he's doing a good job, things would be so much better off. So much better off. Of course, the president constantly talks about and thinking and claiming that he knows more than the doctors, more than the scientists. This is, of course, it's not true, first and foremost. And so what we have is we have a leader who is contradicting the CDC. And you may ask, like, what's the deal? Like, why? This is super important. This is super important. Never before have we had someone in a position of leadership over this country that has conducted themselves in this way. We have a pandemic going on. Trump is not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He has no knowledge whatsoever about pandemics. And for him to contradict and act like he knows more than the people who have studied and been through this, the American people, we're going to be the victims. Well, you MAGA supporters, because y'all are the only people that are going to listen to him. Tensions are rising between Donald Trump and the CDC head over the vaccine timeline. This is what I'm talking about. This president does not understand basic things. But that's what happens because he's a baby. He's 5 years old, right? He's a baby. He acts like one. So Here's what I'm talking about. All right. The vaccine is not ready. Normally, it takes a certain amount of time for a vaccine to become ready. And even if they have one dose, like the president thinks if they have one dose, vaccine's ready. Okay. We have millions and millions and millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in this country. So if they get one vaccine that works, they have to mass produce it. It has to be stored at certain levels. There's a lot of things that has to happen for the mass production and distribution of a vaccine. And that's just assuming that it works because he's putting pressure on them to come up with anything. Again, Trump is scorning, disrespecting science on masks, on vaccines. He doesn't even understand the timeline that is required. Nothing. So the CDC head is in the hot seat. He may not be there long. He is disputing the CDC's head on the timelines. He's disputing the whole thing. And of course, his allies are going to back up his attacks because you wonder why this has become such a partisan thing. Such a mask, meaning you're not supporting the president versus masks without masks, just that whole thing is because the president acts like a baby, right? The president acts like a baby. I've worked with recording artists that were like this, right? Don't know how to produce, don't know how to do any of that stuff, but want to tell you how to do your job. But focus on doing your job. Focus on doing what the American people voted for you. I'm going to use the word loosely, voted for you to do, right? And that is not to try to be a scientist. That's not try to be the head of the CDC and be in charge of the football, college football. That's not what the people hired you for. That's not what they hired you for. So he is contradicting the CDC director, Robert Redfield, saying that he's confused. He's confused. Trump can't even pronounce the words correctly, but he claims he knows better than the CDC. He doesn't even know the right words to say. The strategy, and I use that word loosely, the strategy that this administration wants to use is a herd immunity strategy. What does that mean? Right? First of all, the president couldn't even say that. He called it herd mentality, right? That's how much of an idiot he is. But let's go forward with this. Okay, so what they are trying to do, and they've made it clear what they want to do. So the strategy is it's too hard for the president and this administration to fight this virus. So they're throwing up their hands and they're giving up. Why do I say that? They want people to get the coronavirus because the strategy that they're trying to use is called herd immunity. What does that mean? Picture like a herd of cattle, right? Herd, that kind of herd. Herd of cattle. Bunch of cattle, bunch of people. They want as many people as possible to get a certain amount of Americans to get this disease. And then they think, even though we don't know this, that we're going to build immunity to it when a lot of people get it. That's why they're encouraging people to not wear masks. That's why they want to open schools back up. They want everything open back up because they want everyone to get infected. And using this strategy, they think that by sheer force, our antibodies are going to be built up, and then people are going to naturally fight this off. Now, the vaccine, that's what he says is going to go away on its own. That's what he's talking about, right? Like a miracle. That's what he's talking about, okay? It's not a miracle, and it is gambling with the lives of Americans. It's gambling with our lives. So at this rate, this will affect everyone, even people that don't listen to the president. Even people like that, it's going to affect them as well. So that is what this president is doing. And it's not a good look at all. So the CDC is saying one thing, president saying something else. And let's understand this. The president could never be the head of the CDC. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't even pronounce the words. He can't even pronounce the words. But he wants to give his opinion. Most people leave it to the specialist. But no, not this guy. Not this guy. Yesterday, he contradicted Redfield's congressional testimony on the vaccine distribution. He knows nothing. Talking about Trump. Trump knows nothing about vaccine distribution. So if the head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says something as it relates to vaccine distribution, which the president knows nothing about, he's a real estate guy. And just because he's in the office of president, that doesn't make him some type of an expert on vaccine distribution. We cannot continue to allow our lives, your lives, your kids' lives, your grandmother's life to be put in the hands of this guy. So the chief of staff and other minions of the president said that the CDC director, Robert Redfield, is not among those closest to the process of planning for vaccine development and distribution. So the chief of staff thinks he's closer to things than the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It's crazy. It's crazy. So the chief of staff says he's not sure where Dr. Redfield got his particular timetable. This is what they do. But the minions continue, and other followers of the president online think that this makes sense. They think that this is a good idea. Following the president who knows nothing about this. So, but all of the president's favorite flunkies jumped on this. Kevin McCarthy, House Minority Leader, said that he'd take the word of Trump over Redfield. He'd take the word of this reality star over the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. What kind of spineless piece of crap is Kevin McCarthy? And he has a family, right? You're an idiot. California, please do the Lord's work. The situation is just the most recent example of Trump undercutting public health professionals. Now, you talk about Joe Biden undermining vaccines. These actions, this president undercutting the CDC, these are the type of things that make people question and not want to follow. When the vaccine does come, the fact that you've undermined the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it's this type of action that make people think twice about taking stuff, right? We already know that the system is flawed, right? It's even more flawed under Trump. Normally, you probably didn't know this, people. Normally, they'll bring something to market that's only 75% effective. Under the Trump administration, the vaccine efficacy is going to be 50%. So if it's 50% effective, they're going to bring it to market. 50%. 50, that's like heads or tails. That's like maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. So yesterday, Dr. Redfield said that masks were even more effective than the vaccine, which is true. But of course, Trump doesn't want you to know that because he wants people to get the virus because of this herd immunity crap, or as the president says, herd mentality. Such an idiot. It is the weakness of this administration, the weakness and sheer stupidity of thinking that pretending that a pandemic does not exist and letting it run wild among the American people is going to make him more popular. He thinks that. He thinks that that's a better thing to do than attacking this virus directly and trying to solve it. It is mind-boggling that a grown man who the American people have entrusted with their very lives behaves like this. But that's where we are. That is where we are. Imagine if Trump spent as much time trying to do a good job as he does saying and claiming that he's doing a good job. Masks are more effective. This is an airborne virus. Airborne. Right? So let's look at it like this. Let's look at it like a sexually transmitted disease. Okay? So let's say you have a sexually transmitted disease that there's no cure for, right? And people are saying we need a vaccine for this sexually transmitted disease, right? So people are trying to work on this on a vaccine for this sexually transmitted disease, right? And doctors are saying, look, we're working on this sexually transmitted disease vaccine. However, the main thing that you can do to protect yourself is to wear a condom, right? Cover the organ that you insert into the woman, and this is going to protect you and the woman. This condom, aka the mask. And yeah, so people say, no, don't wear the condom. Let's wait for the vaccine. Better yet, we don't even need a vaccine. This sexually transmitted disease is going to go away on its own like magic. No, it's not. But people, Trump supporters, can't seem to understand the concept that a mask, aka a condom, is going to protect you from the virus. So it is a sexually transmitted disease. You put a cover over the sexual organ and it will protect you. 99%, right? So that's the same concept. It's an airborne virus. We're covering our mouth with something, right? That goes around your mouth. So you're covering your mouth, right? You're covering your mouth. You're preventing yourself from breathing in the, droplets and pushing them out. Now, is this going to cure the virus? No, but it's going to slow the spread. It's going to slow the spread. Why doesn't that make sense? Because you have this guy in the White House that is saying things that violate all logic. Scientists, doctors are saying otherwise, aside from the ones that are under Trump's heel and hanging from his bootstraps and licking his jock strap. Those are the only people that can't seem to process basic information. Those are the people that are listening to this idiot. And he is an idiot. He is an idiot, right? He asked about President Obama's grades, which were stellar. He asked about his birth certificate. Where's his grades? Oh, he don't want to show them. You know why? Because he's an idiot. If Trump's grades were good, he would be showing it everywhere. All of his flunkies would be passing out copies of his report card if it was good, but it's not good. It's crappy. And the test that he did do good on, right? You know how he acts. The test that he did good on, according to him, the dementia test, he talked about that for weeks and weeks, right? If Trump's grades were good, he would be talking about it. He would be showing it. All MAGA supporters would make Trump's report card their default background avatars on social media because he would be showing it so much. You never see it, and it has been buried because it's not good, meaning he's not smart. As you can see, I'm in one of those moods today. You just tuned in. It's the Diamond K Show, of course. RadioFire.com, the DiamondKShow.com. We are counting down the time when we have elections. We're counting down the time, and that's going to be a whole fiasco. I don't even know how that's going to go, but we are going to be doing election coverage. We're going to be having guests talking about the election. We're going to be streaming all night, but it's going to be election week, really, and we are creeping up on that time. Take a quick break. Come back with more of the program after this. So on the other side, I was talking about Trump and his flunkies. And he has a lot of flunkies, right? One flunky that he has should actually not be a flunky. And the reason why I say that is because he's supposed to work for the American people. One of the flunkies that I'm talking about that carry water for Trump, Attorney General Bill Barr. Another person that pretty much does whatever the president says. Attorney General William Barr. Now, a lot of people may not hear him talk a lot. A lot of people know that he's in the background and he is doing the bidding of the president. Usually, it's not good for the American people. Might be good for a criminal like Trump. And of course, another lady has come out talking about the president raping her in the 90s, right? This guy has been accused, he's been accused of raping more ladies than a lot of rappers and R&B singers that have been accused of this all combined, right? And he's the president. But anyway, I have digressed. The Attorney General has gotten some very sharp condemnation today for comparing the time of lockdown and lockdown orders during the coronavirus pandemic to slavery, right? The nerve of this guy. His remarks that came yesterday when he was in Michigan, he called the lockdown orders the greatest intrusion on civil liberties in American history since slavery. Let's understand what happened here. People needed to stay in the house to try to slow the spread of a pandemic. And this so-called attorney general has the nerve and the gall and the sheer ignorance to call the attempt to protect Americans and humans around the world the greatest intrusion on civil liberties in American history since slavery. Also, at this event, he criticized his own prosecutors for behaving as headhunters in their pursuit of prominent targets and for using the weight of the criminal justice system to launch what he calls ill-conceived political probes. I hope this guy gets what he has coming to him. I really do. This guy is, I don't even understand how he sleeps at night with some of the things that he has said and done. And I'm talking about the current attorney general, who must be sharing a brain with the president. There must be one brain between the two of them. Attorney General William Barr is disgusting. Disgusting. And whether it is next year or 4 years from now, this guy is going to have to answer for some of the decisions and moves that he has made. He's supposed to be the attorney for the American people, but he's just like some sleazy lawyer for the Trump family, organization. That's how he rolls. Many people don't even understand what it is that he's supposed to be doing. Many people don't even understand the job of the attorney general. This guy is supposed to be working for the American people. He's supposed to be working for the American people, but he does anything but work for the American people. So, speaking of Americans and the American people, infection rates have soared in college towns as many students are returning. People don't remember. Sometimes you have to remind people we are in a pandemic. So just because you tired of the virus, just because you have what they call cabin fever, that doesn't mean nothing. That doesn't mean that the virus is gone because you tired of it. Who are you? You ain't the virus police, okay? The virus is still here. So 2 weeks after students started returning to Ball State University last month, the surrounding county had become Indiana's coronavirus epicenter. Out of nearly 600 students tested for the virus, more than half have been positive. What does that mean, right? Dozens of infections have been blamed on off-campus parties, prompting the university officials to, admonish students. So these students off campus having parties, right? And that's what young people do. That's what college kids do. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons that many kids go to college is for the parties. I get it. However, we're in a pandemic. So just because, my college experience is not going to be the same, okay? Deal with it. Deal with it, fam, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So the university president wrote that the cases apparently were tied not to classroom or dormitories, but to poor personal choices that some students are making primarily off campus. Now, here's the thing. They don't know how that happened. The school is saying it this way because they don't want to be liable. But you don't know whether that infection, whether those droplets were spread when they were in the cafeteria, when they were going to the bathroom in school, or when they were listening to Cardi B's WAP song. You don't know. But they got to say what they got to say because that, of course, is what the powers that be have to do. So they got to wash their hands of things. So similar examples at other college towns across the country. It's the same thing. Among the 50 states in this country with the highest concentrations of students and overall populations of at least 50,000, 20 have consistently reported higher rates of new virus cases than their states have since September the 1st. So 20 out of 50. Okay. U.S. counties. All right. So on average, infection rates in those 20 counties have been more than 3 times higher than the state's overall rates. So what is driving this? What is driving this is the return to school before it was time. Because once again, I got to keep saying it. Just because you're ready to get out the house, just because you're ready for things to be back to normal, and trust me, I'm ready for things to be back to normal too. However, they're not ready. And we're going into flu season. And for many people, they think that doesn't mean anything. It means that people are going to be getting the flu, they're going to be getting cold. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between the two. Things are going to be, it's going to potentially be bad. And so in the infinite wisdom of some of the people that don't take this pandemic seriously, they think that it is just to get back out. And I could see if get back out meant wearing a mask. But a lot of times the people that are pushing get back out are really half-heartedly supporting the wearing of face coverings. Half-heartedly. Meaning ain't no big deal to them, really. Like the president. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. We have more to get into, more to talk about, a lot more. And we're going to do it after this. Your man Diamond K in here, of course, radioonfire.com, thediamondkshow.com. So this was something that I found to be disturbing. So if you remember the early days of this pandemic, the early days of this, as far as the average citizen went, so we're talking about springtime. During that time, there were a shortage, so we thought, of masks. A lot of things that we didn't know about this virus. But there was a lot of people that knew things. The president knew more than what he said. Obviously, his staff knew more. The administration knew more than what they were saying. And what the report is that is very disturbing to me is that the White House blocked the post office from sending 5 reusable face masks to households in April. So every household, the post office had planned to send 5 reusable face masks to everybody across the country. They drafted up this memo right here. This memo, let me get this memo up. Okay, you can see that. This memo has been uncovered, and so during this time in April, this would have been helpful. Okay. Sending these masks. Many people did not have masks. And uh, the flawed thinking of people that support this anti-mask sentiment thinks that receiving these masks would have caused hysteria. It would not have. The fact that people could not get masks and needed it, that caused hysteria. That can cause hysteria. But if they had something that they knew that was needed, or at least thought was needed, it would have calmed hysteria, not caused it. So the U.S. Postal Service to deliver face coverings to every American household. Historic delivery of 650 million face coverings is in partnership with the White House Coronavirus Task Force, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Consortium of Textile Manufacturers. So that was the plan. But what happened? White House just decided to hold on to those, right? Trump wanted to sell those and do other things with it. Oh, give them away to people. Oh no, I can sell this to other countries and stuff like that. The U.S. Postal Service announced it will distribute the 650 million reusable cotton face coverings on behalf of HHS to every residential delivery point in America, beginning in areas which HHS has identified as experiencing high transmission rates of COVID-19, and to workers providing essential services throughout the nation during this pandemic. But MAGA supporters, your ignorant leader didn't think this was a good idea because he thought that this would cause panic. This goes to show you, he talks about wanting to be a wartime president, even though he's done zero service, public service, military service, zero, right? You don't even know what causes a pandemic. You know nothing. He knows nothing. He was given his money. He didn't make it. He was given it. And then when he screwed that up, he was given more. He doesn't make or do anything. He's just given opportunities because of his family name. That's it. He's earned nothing. He deserves nothing. So it really speaks to the weakness of this administration. These face coverings would have been a well-received and very helpful policy. But because of their inability to acknowledge a problem exists for fear of looking bad, Trump and his sackless coronavirus task force chose to deny the problem really existed, and it only made things worse. It only made things worse. Well, there you have it. Trump supporters are gonna, you're gonna do what you do. You're gonna say what you say. Of course, I saw someone comment on Twitter, how could they deliver these masks when they can't deliver ballots? It's not the same thing. This is not going to have people's names on it. They were just putting stuff in boxes, right? Putting stuff in to the mailboxes. No names, just in there. But Trump supporters are going to continue to do what they do, and that is whine and cry and moan. Whine and cry and moan. It makes no sense to me that we are telling you things to save you, and you want to complain. It's like, put on this life jacket. I don't want to put on a life jacket. You're violating my rights. I have a right to not wear a life jacket. Okay, then you fall in the water and drown. I mean, you know what? Makes no sense. It was announced today that former FBI Director James Comey, who I am no fan of, if anybody is directly responsible for the election of Donald Trump, it is James Comey. His we don't comment on pending investigations, and then come out and announce that one person is under investigation when there were two people under investigation, right? Every time I think about James Comey, I just want to jack him up and put him in a tombstone power driver like the Undertaker, because he put his hands on the scale this country during an election season in a way that affected everything. And it was a perfect storm. Hillary Clinton didn't listen to people that she should have listened to. Comey came out and did that. I mean, there were so many things. Putin cheated. I mean, there's so many things. But the former FBI director is going to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and that's going to be a circus. And this is going to happen on September 30th, just a month before the election. Republicans have tried to make a case that he and his agency conspired against Trump in 2016. Here's what's so crazy about that. James Comey's actions helped Trump and hurt Hillary. But some of these Republicans, the ones that are following behind Trump, are so dumb that they can't recognize that James Comey helped Trump more than anybody. He helped Trump more than anybody. I mean, he might as well have been working for the Trump campaign. I mean, you come out right before an election and announce that one of the candidates is under investigation. Both of them were under investigation, but you announced that one was. And Trump and his cronies think that this guy hurt Trump. They're so dumb, they can't even tell when somebody helps them. That's how dumb they are. So Comey, if you remember, was fired by Trump in May of 2017. So he's going to be a featured witness. We're going to be streaming this live, radioandfire.com. Lindsey Graham, you know, he's gonna be moaning and groaning and doing all the fruity stuff he does. But the president, of course, has long tried to discredit the investigators. It hasn't hurt him. It hasn't. Mueller's probe, which was a fiasco. I mean, I don't understand why we even go through some of these motions. Mueller's probe put into play, but it was set up for failure. Mueller's probe was never going to do anything. And sometimes the president makes things worse, right? Mueller's probe was never going to do anything. He could have just sat back and ignored it, and it still would have done the same thing. Like he wasted time arguing about that when he could have actually been doing some work, because the probe didn't do anything to him, didn't even touch him, didn't even hurt him. But he wasted so much time talking about it because he's juvenile. The president is a toddler. The president acts younger than his youngest son is. He acts younger than Barron actually is. It's amazing. It's amazing. Just tuning in, you listen to the Diamond K Show, radioandfire.com, the diamondkshow.com. We were talking about Attorney General Barr and how he is an enemy of the people. Enemy of the people. The word on the street, is that the feds are, and many people already knew this, the feds are aggressively going after demonstrators who they say cause violence. They're doing that. Okay. The feds are doing this. So I want people to be mindful about this. But it's not the people that you think, right? You have people that are coming in trying to co-opt the movement to try to hurt it. So they're coming in and they're working against the movement, but trying to do that in the name of the movement. That's what's happening many times. So in a private call with federal prosecutors, William Barr made his message clear. They want to aggressively go after demonstrators who they say cause violence. Because, of course, according to the feds, everything that everybody's doing is violent. Yeah. They anything that the people are doing is violent, according to the feds. Barr pushed his attorneys to bring federal charges whenever they could. Now, keep in mind, this guy is supposed to work for the American people, right? And one of these days, he is going to have to answer for the moves that he's made against the very people that he is supposed to be working for. Trump administration has been cracking down and has already led to more than 300 arrests on federal crimes. And this is in protests to the killing of Americans. So I want to make sure that people understand that. I want to make sure that we really hammer that point. People have taken to the streets during this pandemic because of the killing of other Americans. And the administration feels that the best thing to do is to clamp down and become aggressive against the American people. That's what they're doing. That's what they think is the right move. So Barr pushing his attorneys to bring federal charges whenever they could, keeping a grip on cases. Um, you know, uh, even if a defendant could be tried in state court, they want them tried in federal court whenever possible. And why do they want to do that? Why do they want to do that? Because that's what is best to push this quote unquote law and order image. How can you push law and order from the administration of the most lawless president that this country has ever seen? Lawless. So keep in mind, these protests have multiplied since the death of George Floyd, which the president, which Barr rarely talk about. Rarely talk about it. The data shows that while many people are accused of violent crimes, such as arson or hurling the explosive cocktails or burning police cars and assaulting or injuring law enforcement, others are not. That's led to criticism that at least some arrests are politically motivated. And it's just, all of this is posturing. Posturing. What they used to say back in the day? Perpetrating a fraud. That's what we have. We have a fraud for the president, and we have a fraud for the attorney general. They're pretending to be the people that should be in these positions. If President Obama was doing these actions, Republicans would be losing their minds. They wanted to throw Hillary in jail for emails. The first lady has a private email. She uses private email to send her stuff. Ivanka uses private email. If the president knew how to send an email, he would use a private email. He didn't even know how to send an email. That's how swift on his feet he is. He don't even know how to send an email. Baltimore County schools have released a phased reopening plan. This is something that Governor Hogan has wanted. The plan came today. And on Monday, of course, teachers were able to begin teaching virtual classes from their classrooms if they wanted to. And in a message to staff, Superintendent Darrell Williams laid out the next steps. So in this timeline, it's going to go as follows. On October the 19th, all teachers and staff will return to the school buildings. On November 13th, small groups of students will return to school buildings. Those include students with disabilities who attend separate public day schools and self-contained regional programs. They also include students in preschool, pre-kindergarten, and kindergarten. Families of these students will be surveyed early next month to determine who wants to return. For families who don't want to send their kids back to school, online instruction will remain available. So that's going to be interesting. I'd like to know if you live in Baltimore County, do you plan on sending your kid back into the classroom next month? Or do you want to continue to do the virtual learning? So I'm very concerned that schools are not healthy. I am. I'm very concerned about that. And I think that your care and your love for your child, their health, their well-being, your health and well-being should supersede your desire to get them out the house for a few hours. We still do not know the transmission rate. We are going into flu season. Kids are the main transmission points. They're the ones that get people sick the most. Kids. So the president of the Teachers Association of Baltimore County said that there were talks to bring in small groups of students, but she was very surprised to hear that faculty and staff are being forced to return to buildings next month. Right? There was no survey for the teachers. Teachers are being forced to come back. And she said, and this is the president of the Teachers Association of Baltimore County, she said that some teachers may have trouble making childcare plans for themselves. A lot of teachers have kids. This is true. So this is going to be a disaster. Okay. The Baltimore County executive, Johnny O, he criticized the plan as well. It's too soon for this plan, fam. The district's making this type of a move is going to have consequences. I don't know when. I don't know what they're going to be, but they're going to be consequences for this rush to action. It's the wrong action. You really need to be observing things more. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Last story before we get out of here. And it's one of those things that I constantly, preach. I constantly try to get people to understand. If you have a platform, if you have a voice, if people pay attention to what you say, to what you do, that is power. That is important, right? Um, and so in this day and age, in this digital landscape that we live in, social media is important. It is. It is not the end all be all, but it is important. And to Boosie, social media must be like the end all be all, because Boosie says that he's going to sue Instagram for racial discrimination. I'm going to break this down for Boosie in a way that I know that he can understand. Boosie, if you're working on an album, right? You're working on an album, and a white rapper wants to get on your album. You say, okay, work it out. The white rapper does his verse to put on your album. You have other features on the album from black rappers. This one feature from this white rapper. He records his verse. You hear the verse. You don't like the verse, so you don't include the verse on the album. It's your album. You control the IP, the intellectual property. It's your body of work. You decide who's on there. You listen to everybody else's rhymes. You like them. They're cleared. They're good. The white rapper, you didn't like it. So you say to the white rapper, let me hear another verse. Give him another. He gives you another verse. You don't like that verse either. So you decide, you know what? I'm not including his verse on my album because it's your platform. And then if the white rapper says, you're being racist against me. No, you're not being racist in that scenario, because it's your thing. You set the rules. His rhyme was not up to your standards, so you didn't include it on the album. That's what's happening with Instagram. Okay. It's Instagram's platform. It's Mark Zuckerberg's platform. Instagram is owned by Facebook, right? So Boosie took to Twitter to call out Instagram again. Okay. He wants to get back on Instagram so bad. So today he wrote this: I started a new IG at Boosie new IG, and they stopped my live as soon as the Shade Room posted it. I haven't posted nothing or went live. This is discrimination / racial, etc. I'm suing, calling Drew now. All right. So I don't think that Boosie understands the terms of service. Instagram disabled his account in August, okay, for violating the site's policies. The stuff that he was posting was all kind of ratchetness, and they said they didn't want to do it. They didn't want it on there, right? Boosie's been pleading with Mark Zuckerberg, who, of course, as I said, owns Instagram. His company owns Instagram, to reinstate his account. He said that this is how I feed my family. We ain't making no show money. None of the rappers. I need my Instagram back. Mark, I need my Instagram back, Boosie said. I told everybody, call Mark, at him. Tell him, call my sister. We need to talk. I need my Instagram. I got people's money. I got to post. Okay. Boosie even offered $100,000 to give him his account back before he made his return earlier this month. Here's the thing. Okay. And if Instagram is so significant to you, Boosie, why would you teeter-totter on their service terms? Like, why? Right? If it's so precious, you need to value it then. If you're using it as a vehicle to make money, then I don't understand. I don't understand. So there are also other networks that he can use and just lay low. But bringing all this light to it is not going to help. And it just looks crazy him begging Mark Zuckerberg to get on his free site. You know what I mean? It looks crazy to me. And I want Boosie to learn from this. Use some of the other social networks and tone down the ratchetness and focus on business, because there's a lot of business that Boosie can make and a lot of business that he can do. But he's got to understand how to play this game. And he's not playing it right. And it looks crazy with him begging to be on Instagram or to have his live or whatever. You know, it looks crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok. Am I plugging my social media? At the Diamond K Show, at Radio Over Fire. Of course, advertise with us. Connect your message with our engaged audience of over 350,000 listeners and viewers per month. RadioOnFire.com/advertise is where you go. Follow the Diamond K Show on Spotify or your favorite podcast network. New shows drop daily. Radio on Fire. We have a whole lineup of folks here on the network. And what is so good about the movement that we are building is that we're covering a lot of bases here. Okay. Of course, the Diamond K Show, 7 p.m. weekdays. The We Live in Atlanta podcast with Truth Hurts and Jay Jackson Live is Saturdays, 2 p.m. RadioOnFire.com/live. The His and Hers Show with myself and Sweet Tea, Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern, RadioOnFire.com/live. Sports on Fire with Dean and Dev, Mondays, 5 p.m. Eastern, RadioOnFire.com/live. Also on Sundays, I Want Luscious TV, 11 p.m. Eastern, RadioOnFire.com/live with Luscious and Ricky Gambini. And more shows to come. You can also check out things on demand. If you miss them live, that's all good, because you can check out any show on demand, RadioOnFire.com, and hit the podcast link, and you can watch all of the programs that have already happened. You can do that. And, of course, you can support the program via Cash App, and that is $DJ Diamond K. Of course, your donations help us continue to do what we do, and that is to bring you free programming, independent news, progressive opinion on politics, social issues, entertainment, so much more. For booking and media requests, contact me, djdiamondk@gmail.com. I will be in the mix, the On Fire Mix Show, Saturdays and Sundays, 12 noon. Weekends, 12 noon. I will be here on the 1 and 2s, spinning music. And until next time, if you see it, then you can be it. It is all about having vision. So I will see you guys tomorrow. As always, it's been fun, and I was definitely one of the moods today. See you guys tomorrow.